Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Katowice. As you can see, the lovely Spodek Arena there in the distance. In Polish, translates basically to UFO, and at the moment, it's flying high, just like Vitality is from game number 3. Very impressive stuff there from our Intel Extreme Masters Oakland champions, as they were able to take that chicken dinner in that 3rd game and position themselves very well indeed. Welcome back to the Analysis Desk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kyle Harris, your host for the 2 days that we are here for PUBG, and we're going to break things down. Going into our last and final game for today, of course, as we will have 4 more games joining you for tomorrow. Joining me, once again, Toffee's an Avenger. I keep saying joining me. It's not like you're going anywhere. You're actually chained to this desk. You are staying here for now. And let's talk about the last game coming up, because obviously we've seen the planes and circles work out in not too crazy ways, very kind of similar from game 1 to game 3, for example. But coming into game 4, what are we expecting coming into this? Because this is the point where people might want to just kind of focus down before all the pressure really starts kicking in tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think we're going to have 2 different kind of approaches to this game. On the one hand, we're going to have teams that maybe today hasn't been working great for them, and they're going to play carefully this one. They're going to try to make sure they make top 5. They're going to slow play, go home, watch replays, and come back fresh tomorrow and not make the big moves. Then we're going to have teams like Method, who I think have had a really good showing today. Their strategies are clearly working, so I expect them to come out in game 4 and try to make one big play before the changes tomorrow.
I think one of the teams that really needs to step up coming in so they are confident for tomorrow is FaZe. They're currently sitting at 9th, but they have 400 points. Yeah. With a Vanguard game, 17 kill, 20 kill game, they're going to be fine. But if you go into day number 2 being 12, 10, then you're going to have a hard time and you're going to be challenged for tomorrow.
You're playing catch up and you don't want
yes,
that. So
absolutely.
Teams like Kingwin, I think, really need to buckle down here for game 4.
Yeah.
And you know what? At this point, take some risks. If you're 12 to 16 at this point, don't wait for tomorrow. Yep. Get out there and try to make something happen.
And there's a very realistic possibility now, law of averages, you know, who goes, the circles may end up being a bit more centralized moving forward, maybe west, maybe east, who knows. But we've had 2 military circles now that have played a pretty predominant factor on those early rotations down towards the bottom. If it's central, it's a bit more easy for them to deal with. But let's focus on a team TSM, who they did have a very strong position in that previous game here, and definitely have the potential to be doing a lot more here at the tournament.
Absolutely. They call team solo mid, right? And then it's because they're mid, they're mid position in every single game. Those guys send a scout, they hold a mid position, then everyone else transitions to join them. And in this game, they got the radar tower and they just rained down pain and death on every other team.
All right, well, let's check in, of course, with TSM, who are here for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.
Coming into this, coming from Oakland, previous tournament, we did play a lot of edge, and we did kind of master, I would say, the edge play and kind of, I don't know, create that meta a little bit. And other teams did start trying to copy it and whatnot. So it made it maybe a little bit harder to play edge. And coming into this, we would have used the same strategy. We've swapped things up, not because other teams are doing that, not because we didn't feel confident in that still, but more because we feel like we can take advantage of something else better this time around. Like the meta shifted some, and we believe that there's a better way to play now. I've said in the past there's never a right way to approach Battlegrounds. And basically what I mean by that is the game's so situational. Depending on the circle, the amount of teams, the different teams that are in your game, what weapons you have, what gear you have, you know, the different RNG in the game, it's going to make it so that some decisions in some game are good and other games not as good. In this game, I'm not really afraid of anybody. I mean, obviously FaZe and Vitality are both really strong teams. They're probably like the 2 teams that, if you were going to say were like the scariest out there, it's probably them. But if we go against them, I believe in my team. I believe that we can still take them on.
A A team of fan favorites and a team of adapters in TSM. One thing is for sure, from Intel Extreme Masters Oakland coming into Katowice, they have changed up their styles. They even had someone like Break on the other side there, acting in the blue, acting almost as an insurance policy to try and get them a little bit further. But one thing's for sure, Toffees, is they did change up quite a bit from tournament to tournament.
You talk about Oakland, they were sort of the creators of this edge strategy where they sort of always played about 100 meters outside the blue, cleaned up fights as they closed in, and played it very nice and slow. Totally different. You heard Vis say it in the interview, we changed things up. This time they're sending scout runners to the middle, they're chasing in separate cars, using motorcycles a lot more often, and it's been working out pretty well for them.
And Vis was a monster in that previous game. Could have been even further had the circle gone in their favor a little bit, not had to come off top of radar tower, and where the Noble was down to the south of them, and then when they had to take those shots, they're basically revealing themselves to the entire field, and then they get kind of gunned down. So if it had played in their favor, it could have been a lot different.
Absolutely. As I said earlier, this radar tower is a really good position to move out of anywhere you go. You also saw that they wiped out FaZe because they had a superior position. Unlucky for FaZe, very good for TSM. If they had some favor of the circle, it would have been played out totally different.
Kill points. Avengar still racking them up, but of course you mentioned, you've got people like Optic and Method in the top 3 at the moment, Vitality up there as well. So the kills aren't everything. Again, this is a survival game. The word there means a lot, survival, not just the kills that are very important. But thank you very much, gentlemen, as we are ready for our final game of day number 1 here for the Intel Extreme Masters PUBG Invitational. Game number 4 to find out who takes that last chicken dinner of the day.
Thank you, guys on the desk. And yes, it is the last chance to dance, at least for day 1. Everything's still up for grabs. It's all to be played for, but teams are starting to break ahead of the pack. We've seen it so far with Vitality coming through strong, seeing what they did before, but then actually claiming a victory here. Already put themselves so far forward, and I saw that picture. Optic, Method, Cloud9, all these teams really providing some excellent content so far.
Yep, so when I think back to IEM Oakland, I think about the TSM effect. By the end of day number 1, they were the first top of the charts. They were number 1 ranking going into day number 2. At the start of that day, they died first. The different scenarios that you can land on in this game is insane. You can be up 1 minute, you can be down the next. Game 2, we saw Avanga, 17 kills. Game 1 and 3, they got 1 kill between them. 2 kills across 2 games, which is a night and day scenario. It all comes down, where does this circle land? Where do we rotate from? Let's work as a team. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing. Personally, Break moving off from the pack, it would have been nice to see him together with the rest of TSM, have the 4-man unit up on that radio tower and fight all those deaths as a team. Hey, hindsight, it's a great thing, but I believe the plane's just left the tarmac, the bird's in the air. Game number 4, last one of day 1
it's a central flight. You love to see it. Right across the map. It's all up for play. Nowhere too far for any of these teams. It's all possible. That's what I want to see. We saw a lot of southern-dependent flight routes, which kind of cut a couple of the teams at the knees, but now we get to see what they want to do. This is the game where you've got to see how bad do these teams want it. Do you want to go into day 2 with a mountain to climb or merely somewhere to put your flag after victory? At the moment, we're seeing where these guys go, and if anyone surprises us.
Okay, so we should have his usual drops. We'll be looking for Method to take at Pachinki. We're looking at Tempo Storm, take the West Coast. Avanga, they're going to try and get into Georgia Paul early, maybe and potentially beat out Optic. Noble, when I was casting over them for the open qualifiers, they liked Zaki and they pushed up on the edge. Potentially they may go the same. If you look at the arrows on Noble, they're just looking, they understand where the enemy's going. Further afield, we'll see FaZe be the last one to jump. They're going down to their usual place, which is going to be Milta Power. However, Vitality, they're in Milta.
LGD as well.
Yep. The party, the people who could be here to really upset people is LGD.
So, I want to point out, I love the fact in the air, if you can see the icons on the map every now and then, you see the 2 teams staring at each other like, are you going to break off? Or okay, we're both doing this. All right. You kind of have to accept it. Who's going to come out good in this one, at least to begin with? I've got to say is TSM. They've got the clean loot of Yasnaya. No one really challenging for that yet or pushing towards it. We'll see if FaZe have to back away and peel off, and it looks like they've done just that. Heading slightly further up the East Coast, but then let's jump on board at who's over by the crates at George. I'm pretty sure that's going to be Pig again. Last time he took a couple of shots over at Optic. That went pretty well for him, but again, Georgia Paul is always fought for. It's always a heavily contested area. It's split off into smaller places, and we talk about routes and things like this, and it essentially means where players like to go, where they feel they can get optimal loot or safety looting. and kind of build through it and work their way through, and it worked well with the collective. So at the moment, we're seeing the roots kind of coming through and the map being divided into certain areas. And at the moment, Vanguard are going to be over by George. You've got Optic up there, KSV are up there. There's about 3 teams vying for control. And at the moment, they're pretty well split, apart from North George that could have some fights on it. The first circle has come in, if you're wondering, it's towards the southeast, not completely towards the military island, as we are used to by now, but it does seem to kind of cover over. Let's put the center point as prison/shelter by the lumber camp. So that's where we'll be seeing the plays go towards.
Okay, so let's talk about where teams are going to be meeting then. You can already see Frolicker, usual thing. He's going to be the one that just kind of cuts off from the rest of C9, more than likely have a bike and just go wander away, try and find some decent area for C9 to get themselves dug in here. FaZe, as you kind of mentioned, around the shelter and the prison area. Gemty's going to be near enough central circle, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 9, 10 teams all outside. They're all going to be coming from that west coast, so we have to look. It's going to be from the Badlands. Some people call it the Potato. I call it Pachinki Hill. That kind of area, and just towards the bottom end of the apartments and the school. This is where the action is going to be now. Is somebody going to be a gatekeeper here? Is someone going to go sit on the edge? Will TSM do?
Cloud9 could as well.
They have there's so many teams here. Kingwin can move in, TSM and Cloud9. They can all just watch and wait. To be fair, because there's only a quarter of the circle that people can really enter from Pansy, some of these teams could really rack up some points and kills.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Now, you can see teams kind of being a bit careful here. They like to be quite decisive in where they want to go. Tempo Storm seem to have a couple of players moving early, and that's quite dangerous. Valiant there going to be working his way through, which could bode poorly as Cloud9 aren't far from him. Rogue have players there, but teams taking their time on this one. No one's really diving into this too much. You know that this is the pressure situation.
So let me throw this one your way, and I'll get your opinion on this. You've been doing CS for many years and watching it. It's hype, and you know how teams kind of mentality on LAN and such. Let's take a moment to appreciate that FaZe. You heard Avenger on the desk say, you know, they're looking at 9th place. This isn't FaZe that we know and love. They've been forced out of their homes. They're no longer allowed to take mill to power. LGD's turned up to the party and said, all right, boys, it's nice to see you, but can you just do one and go a bit more up north, please? We want this area. It feels weird to see so much abuse towards FaZe like that because there's such a commanding team online that you have to absolutely respect.
But then there's so much pressure on them as a team to do well. And it's like, do we take the early fight and try and bully them out and risk dying first, second, and then being in a bad position? Or do we just say, all right, screw it, no one goes to Lipovka, no one goes up to the east side of the map, we feel comfortable doing that. That's the thing, it's how the team feels, and they put a lot of pressure on themselves, it seems. We are seeing the early movement from Method. Not too surprising, it's 2 players currently. Andy being one of them, and he's joined by one other. I think it's Turtle with him, there it is. And Cloud9 haven't moved yet, and this is the fight we could be seeing here. Frolicker, they're gonna put a couple of shots towards the Tempo Storm player as he dives away in the car, but for now, Cloud9 are in prime position to get a lot of these shots through. Method have cut a nice line through the map that yet hasn't really been fought for, so they can maybe dig themselves in, but KLG aren't far off either.
Yeah, there's several teams that do need to cross paths with C9. We're looking at Rogue, we're looking at SST, we're looking at Tempo Storm, KSV also potentially, although they may skirt just the edge. TSM are now in the rotation. They've come out of Yasnaya, so Yasnaya is a big city. You can spend a lot of time in there and get heavily looted. They've not spent a great deal of time whatsoever, in my opinion. They've come in really early, and again, you may potentially see them either go center circle or creep on the edge and wait for the kills.
They probably don't expect FaZe to be here, if I'm honest.
That's a good point.
If you're coming into this in your TSM, you probably expected to take Yasnaya, and you see that circle like, oh, it's perfect, we can go prison, we can go to the houses. So right now, it could be a bit of a trap here. If we can jump on board with them when we can, that'd be brilliant, because I wonder if FaZe are going to take the early fight. They seem scared and a little bit hesitant to get involved, as everyone still stands at this point, and I think they might have seen doors open, they might have seen something that gave away the game, like, let's keep moving on, and that's completely fine. They can kind of lead the way for the others to move in. The north side of the circle is pretty sparse at the moment of any teams digging in deep. Everyone's going very central at this point.
So TSM have split off into 2-2s using vehicles. Of course, if one team does die, at least you're not completely out of the game. If you're all inside that vehicle, you are all dead. You are gone in last place. So nice to see them kind of splitting off here. Smack and Break do have a bit of a challenge on their hands because they have to get past FaZe, the mighty beast. I mean, regardless of how they're doing now, it's still an absolute unit to go up against. They are going to put some damage on you. They are going to put pressure. TSM will look towards the lumber side. They're going to get the rocks. It's a nice place to be, especially with the circle that they have. Let's have a look further afield. How are Method doing? What's the gear like? 2-2. I'm seeing first aids, bandages. One stim there on Turtle, but he's got the extended. He's got the M4, the red dot. Decent weapon. Depends what the rest of his teammates got. But it's nice to see them putting the vehicles inside this garage. The people will be able to take out your tires, blow them up, keep that utility. The vehicles in this game play such a liberal component.
I'm glad we're seeing this. I was going to say that farm area to the Milter area to about, I guess, just south of the Lumberyard is incredibly filled with players. No one's playing edge games here. Look at it. The edge is completely sparse. That's quite a rarity in a way. There's a good few compounds to get your hands on, and you can see the early teams really digging in deep. You've got the likes of Cloud9 in there. Kingwin have a decent position. FaZe can set up where they want to. TSM might struggle to find some clear ground because already those early Melter teams, those two I think around that area, the south side, have already going to have their ground. They're not going to have to move out of Melter. So for TSM, they're going to struggle for ground, and the rest of the teams coming in, well, they can populate anywhere. They've got the complete outer skirts.
So,
they don't know that, though.
That's insane. How many teams are sat side by side right now? At one point, we'll just grab you this map and just show you what we can see because it's ridiculous. It's so heavily packed together. Look at that. How many teams we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams all potentially together. Noble coming in from the top.
No one's died yet.
No, that's the scary thing. Everyone's going to be, especially in that center, a lot of people, I mean, who's going to be the most heavy looted here? You'd have to, personally, I'd go for Vitality. Having Milter and just been able to do your own thing. They're going
to have to move, not in panic, no worries.
And that's their usual spot. So every single player's going to have their loot run. They've not been touched. They've not been prodded and poked. And when we say loot run, this is where players have a certain, they'll drop as a team. And it's the way to get geared the fastest. You've only got a certain limited amount of time in there. So when you drop, you need to have a distinct idea of where you're going. Me personally, I'll go Pachinki. I'll take the entire roadside and just work my way down. Vitality, they could be the current kings here in game number 4.
The one thing I got to say about Vitality's positioning as well, they've taken a lot of ground here, so a lot of real estate, as we like to say. They haven't just kind of claimed one side or like one building or one compound. They've actually really dominated throughout Milter, so they're being very dominant, very alpha about this. They feel confident in what they're doing, and I kind of like that approach. They're not letting others kind of worm their way in, but there's a lot of room in Milter to find these issues. But Shiv could be in a bit of a spot of bother. He's right in the middle of the action, and saying action, we're going to see a couple of shots come through. That's going to be a common trend in the next couple of seconds, minutes even. Because every team's just trying to find that little bit of respite, that moment where they can just sit back for a second. That wasn't the shot.
No, it wasn't.
Deep breath, but this could be the kill. If Andy can steal that, he does. That's fantastic for him. He doesn't even do the heavy lifting. He just taps away at the, I guess, very sad body on the floor.
Yeah, Method, they're in a good spot because they have this compound. On the opposing side, you've got C9, so Andy's very aware of this. He's looking towards the other building. That is prime territory because no one's in that. But I very much doubt anyone's going to go for it because when you're approaching these buildings, you know players are going to be in here. You're not stupid, especially at this level. Every single building is a potential time to die.
You're going to be looking for a lot of... Oh, that 7.6 is lovely at this sort of position. You know the Break's not a fan of the AK,
smoking.
But I mean, it does tear up cars. I think it's one clip will still take down a car without the extended mag, for example. But I mean, for now, not bad work. Giving away positions, sure, but also showing presence isn't always a bad thing. You kind of want to lock yourself into this as Shiv does find Smitty. So, I mean, everything's kind of piling in eventually. I think teams are working out, yeah, there's a lot of people here, which is quite surprising, and you're almost hoping that someone finds either... You actually want 7.6 at the moment because you can shred through helmets so easy, and teams won't have the ability to pick up new ones at this point because there's nowhere else to loot. They've all kind of dedicated themselves to these compounds, to these buildings. Rotating out of these is going to be the big threat. If there's a massive south swing or north swing on the next circle, you're going to see a lot of teams in trouble, and well, once that circle clicks into place, we're going to find out where they need to move to.
So the only issue they have with the 7.62 is, one, it takes up a lot more room in your bag.
Yep.
Two, obviously, what you're going to be using an AKM. It's not the greatest weapon long distance.
No,
don't get me wrong.
Arse.
You well, don't sugarcoat it, Lauren. We'll go fine. But if you ping someone in the face, that's 49. That's 49 blunt damage before you take off, obviously, the diminishing returns from the armor. But it hits like a tank up close and personal with a compensator on it. And if you can get a holographic for a close combat weapon, it's a disgusting machine. But that's kind of what you need. This is going to be a close combat fight. Teams are going to be looking to breach houses. You can see here, Optic, they're on their own rotation, but Avanga's like, we'll leave the green wall alone. We'll just pass by, boys. We're going to take this cornfield and just go chill. And you know, that's a safe thing to do. There's still 16 teams here, 61 alive, everything to play for. But make sure, guys at home, you keep an eye on that kill feed because within the next circle pinch, it's going to go from 0 to 60 really quickly.
Yeah, the difference is always about one shot, essentially, between the 5.5 and 7.6. So, I mean, you know, it's between like 2 to 3 shots, and then if you look at the like the armor damage between level 3s and 2s, it's like 4 to 6, or you know, kind of like 5 to 6 around that marker. So again, it's small, but it can make a huge difference, and especially when you don't have options of other looting. Now let's look at the new circle. It's had a big southeast pull, so kind of center point right now will be, I guess, the eastern side of Milta, around that marker, kind of Lumberyard again, being quite central on this. So teams like KSV going to move in, Optic going to have to move in, Cloud9 going to be in some trouble here. You can see Method have the opportunity to lay in some bullets, and that will set up Kinguin to now have a good understanding as to where everyone else is. And it looks like Solid FPS might be in some trouble here.
Yeah, he's just got stalled, working his way around through shelter. Going up on that rock side there. Frex is going to take a bike across. You'll always see Frex with a bike, because of course he is the scout here for Cloud9. Now the main territory on this map that I'm looking towards, I'm looking for real estate. Obviously these players don't know this, but it's mini Milta power. Nobody's inside mini. You do have that platform on the outside just to the left of the building. You can get some shots. And what did I tell you? Here comes the kill feed. Zampa already with one, finds the headshot onto Hyomu, and he is dead. Picks him up. 10 points in the bag for Tempo Storm. Mexi as well onto C9. So Frex has been on the rotation. Frex has been looking for a nice safe place to C9 to land in, but unfortunately he lands in the open, welcoming hands of FaZe.
Yeah, so far I actually really like the rotations from Optic as well. They've been quite smart. If they're able to stay alive and get themselves locked into a position, they'll be pretty good. Of course, they're getting a lot of attention, but they came in from the northern side, which really they know doesn't have much attention to it. There was FaZe, essentially, and TSM. So they're going to try and get themselves towards the kind of hills, the rock side, but there are players trying to stop them being able to do... Where did that buggy go? I mean...
See you, Hypoc.
Yep.
And they're just moving up out of the butts.
All right, Gemty, show me the money.
Yeah, there's two of them. There's Gemty and Fuzzface, both of them with these Kar 98s. It's gonna whack you with a level 3 for 99 if you aren't wearing one. If you're wearing a level 2, it's gonna be even worse. So they need to be very, very careful. C9 will have the information that we got FaZe down there, so we won't be moving any further. We'll just look further afield there, because again, it's kind of bullet comes through, and they answer back. At least Optic do say, you know, all right, FaZe. We play you plenty of times in the console wars in many different games, but we're here on a PC platform. You want a piece of this? Let's go, boys.
I've got to say as well, Vitality's still in a sublime position. They've been able to hold Milta for quite some time. They haven't really had many threats from it. TSM have found themselves some good ground, got to say that one. But Noble, a bit of I guess a slow burner. But they've been really racking up points. They're certainly still within very much the competitive range where they can really cause trouble here. So keep eyes on Noble, see if that becomes a factor down the line. But most teams just trying to find that next position to go to. There's still 57, make it 56 players alive at this point. So it's where can we sit? Where can we hold into that next circle? Where can we stay alive? Because everyone is playing for points here, bear in mind. This is the big thing in their minds. They know where they're standing at the moment. They know where the biggest threats come from. So trying to get that last real push with the final game of the day is so integral.
Feel a little bit sorry for C9. They had some great territory, and now all of a sudden it's just solid. I think he's the last man standing. I could be wrong. He might have a partner. I've definitely seen 2 go down. And again, just getting caught off guard on the rotation. We've seen it twice now with Avanga. The team that got 17 kills in game 2 have just been picked apart. But this time around, they're sticking some on the board. Noble just doing what Noble does best, getting center. And how they... I don't know if they trade off for gear, but they have no fear whatsoever about going center circle, just driving through and steaming through opponents and really holding it down. We'll see if this kind of pays off for them, because there will be a trade-off for that. If you're going to go and you're going to take center circle, 1, you have to be prepared to take fights. 2, you have to have the armor to take fights, because people are going to be dinging you left, right, and center. 3, more importantly, you need those meds. If you're going to go early and you're going to get stuck in, you've got to be able to heal yourself back up, because this is, I can't say enough, guys, this is going to go absolutely south anytime soon. 56 players in such a tight, compact circle. I mean, you've got, what, maybe 10, 20% water in there as well, so you've even got that deficit. SST look like they're going up north, as you can see now as they bring in the map. Who else? Where are these fights going to be kicking off, then? Actually, a FaZe pushing Optic.
It looks like they're trying to get up close. They already had 2 players towards that area. They were kind of in the yellow barns, or like, not barns, but I guess the yellow houses. But they can kind of sit in them. They don't need to overly peek, and they shouldn't. They need to keep hold of everything they've got. So you can see them kind of stuck in this. A lot of teams opting for the 2-2. TSM, FaZe doing the same thing. LGD in a good spot here now as well. They went to the mini power, and that's closed really nicely towards... Actually, Optic could be screwed on this. They need to be very careful where they push to, because they're just on the cusp, but the cover stops where the circle begins. So they're going to have to work their way in towards this. You've got to hope that someone else picks up FaZe or starts the fight going. TSM starting to get a couple of shots through, and Vitality finally need to edge their way in slightly, but remember, this was the area where Vitality secured their victory in Oakland.
Yeah.
In this area, indeed. So, I mean, you know that they're strong in this place. This is their home turf. Everyone's just coming around theirs for dinner. So you've got to be careful playing in towards this one. You can see the shots on the cross and on the rotations coming through. No one's actually gone down completely yet. You're seeing a couple of players now having some issues, maybe being knocked at this point. It is indeed going to the Tempo Storm boys who are quite far out, going past the likes of Vitality, Kingwin. It's the gauntlet being run.
Vitality picking up 2, and you mentioned Optic. They might actually not be as screwed as what we thought, because they have the whole back wall of that power plant to play off. Kingwin, they answer back. They see 2. That's going to be, 1 MPX from KLG. He will fall. Can we see another one turned? Looking in the kill feed. We're just going to keep his eye on that. Valiant tries to get across with the UAS. Shadow's got other ideas. See if he can land a shot off this one. Look for the blood and look for his health bar. Call comes in. Araxa answers back. M4. Holographic. Shadow with the car 98. Why not have a whack? They've actually flipped it, so they've hit... Potentially, they hit the tire there and flipped the car. Zampa, meanwhile, over in the compound. He goes down, but it looks like one of the players is there to at least potentially get the revive. That may be the second time he's been knocked, and once you get knocked, you do bleed out a hell of a lot quicker. Valiant's in trouble, though. He needs to run the gauntlet over here, and V for victory themselves. Vitality. They're just going to monitor this coastline, this ridge, so to speak. But look at all these players. And here comes Optic, and this is what I said before. FaZe have got into a position where they can potentially have eyes on the Optic boys. But again, it comes down to this ridgeline that they've got. They're going to take control of the rocks. You're banking on the circle here. Shadow, 1K, you can see in the kill feed, finally comes through with that cannon. He does find his original target. So he punches a 7.62 through his eyeball. One player will drop on the side of Tempo.
And Optic keeping these cars in the game has been excellent for them as well. They can kind of make a mobile bit of cover wherever they go. So that's excellent news for them. And there's actually not many teams keeping tabs on this at the moment. So, I mean, for them, they can readjust, reposition, find a bit of respite from FaZe, who've been completely hounding them for some, quite some time. And Vanguard taking up the post, exactly where FaZe were not too long ago, able to catch a couple of shots towards the Cloud9 and Method side, who's still holding on with 2 players here as KSV. Actually, no, tell a lie, it wasn't just 2 players. They've actually got all 4 alive who are working their way in, but it's been split 2-2. Now, FaZe, we saw that they had these Car 98s, and we kind of got excited by the prospect that this could be fun, and you definitely need it from this range to be able to actually do some real damage, and the Pan coming in to save the day.
How in God's name are 16 teams still alive?
53 players casually alive.
Casual. I mean, Solid's literally just hanging on by a thin. He is on thin ice right now for C9. If he dies, they're gone. In fact, excuse me, I'm talking rubbish. I didn't even see Moody was still alive here, chilling on the west.
I don't think he's all that chilled right now. He's got a lot of dudes shooting at him.
There's a couple of Penguins who fancy a crack. 4 players. Kingwin eyeballing him. They know exactly where he is. Yaxi gets the angle. Tap, tap, tap. Moody, pull your ass in, Sunshine, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. It will get clipped here. Yaxi will rotate for a second. Try and get a bit more of an angle on there. And because of this high ground that he's got him, it's quite easy to do.
This is great news for Method because they can hear this going on, so they know where these teams are. Now, they are in the blue. They're going to have to work their way in, and that might be a factor down the line. But for now, that can be in the back of their mind. So they're working out where these players currently position, how we need to, where we need to be careful from. So that bodes well for them, considering they need to move fast. Now, again, any hard cover is what teams are fighting for. You're going to see LGD in a good spot, SST in a good spot, Noble, TSM. FaZe, interesting one. They're going to be in pretty much open ground. Optic could get some shots on them, so roles reversed there. They're going to love a bit of that revenge. Avenger's got to move as well. Avangard region, even Method needs to start moving in. Cloud9, or should I say just solid FPS here. And there you go. You can start seeing these kills coming through. But Bayer this time not able to sneak his way forward. He does get caught by the Car 98.
Vad with the Car 98 finds the head. We'll see 17 now rotating from Optic. He's got a vehicle and he's managed to pull them back, try and draw some fire for FaZe, because FaZe are just holding them back at the moment. KSV goes on to C9. Solid will fall. Now it really is Moody, the last man standing. Method, time to join the party. They're rotating inwards, but over at the lumberyard, we've got a lot of stuff going down. Mexi tanking up, trying to take down Optic. They're bailing out the vehicle because that bad boy is smoking a few more bullets. And she is all she wrote. They want to finish it off and try and go for those tires. But Optic, they are outside the circle. What? Excuse me, Brick? Why are you VSSing people?
Look, the VSS isn't that bad. Like
9-0? GG, okay.
If you're going to underestimate it, you're missing out.
I mean, 9-0 taking down C9. It's ironic, right?
You love to see it. All right, FaZe at the shooting gallery here, just enjoying putting some bullets, making Optic dance. As Moxie there, going to connect at least 1, maybe 2 being found on the end. But I mean, For Optic, it's trying to stay alive, trying to find a way into that circle, but there's nowhere safe at this point.
The only way to do it is if 17 puts a hell of a lot of, pre-fire down. Oh, wait a minute, KSV. Itzy and Andy both down. So that's 2 players from Method knocked out by KSV. Keep an eye on that kill feed to see if Andy does die along with Itzy there.
Yeah, with the circle moving in, there's no way they're going to get revived. They're over by Lumberyard, and you're going to see KSV working their way out here. Kinguin actually get a spot on them, as the rest of Method going to work their way down towards the south, but they've got a Wenger in their way. And while FaZe trying to still land these shots, but if anything, you're just wasting ammo at this point. But my lord, do you want these kills?
It's a little bit.
That's not the dream, is it? There we go. Shot comes out from Muncie. And that's at least one of the Optic players pushed aside.
This is a dirty little corner right here. This is awful. Inside the circle, he can just use that cover, hard cover, and just hard peek if he really wants to. Kinguin onto Sexy, answers back. He'll get dropped. Ether's all the way at the top there at Lumber, so I don't think he'll come down to help his teammate out. Then again, put some smokes down. There's a chance. Look at Kinguin. They've got some sort of information that he's hiding up there, so just laying down all the pre-fire and chilling. You see, the issue is now that I have with this setup. Chilling inside the Harry Potter, the next circle that moves, it should push them out, so they're going to have to work their way in.
This is going to be fun, though, for Method. They've got a good couple of players right around them, and that blue's going to move in. So it's like, can we just squeeze our way in a little bit here, find a little bit of cover, and let them leave? I think they're both aware of each other as well, so they're kind of safe, but if they get spread out by anyone else or get pushed, they are screwed. But everyone is fighting for that one spot they can sit in. The next circle will force probably 2, 3 teams to have to make a committed move through the open. At this point, that is dangerous. Still 45 players alive, 14 teams. So much to be up for grabs at this point.
Oh god, you called it earlier on. Lauren Method have been seen by 3, FaZe, Avanga, and Noble. They see Turtle. They want to put him back in his shell. They're going to push him back. You can see, if you look on the, just keep an eye on that map, you can see the angles that people have on one another. They'll be shooting.
Ooh.
Here we go then. TSM can potentially group up here, but they need to be careful. The fact that they have Noble across the road. They are now split between 2 houses. One of them won't be inside the circle, but they do have all the time in the world.
They have got in their car and gone. They don't want to mess around for a second. There used to be a really OP spot, but that's the AWAM coming out. That's the big boomstick. Always a bit scary when you hear that one going off, no matter whose hands it's in. But the thing I like with TSM, the positioning on the 2-2 split, this is one we were discussing just yesterday as well when we were getting ready for the event, is the fact that you're going to try and position it not only to get real estate, but the fact of if the circle moves one way or another, you're probably going to try and position for 2 players to be at least more central on it. And everyone is converging towards this central point of the mini power station. Now, that is actually quite good fun because you've got verticality to it. A lot of these walls are very hard to access, so you're praying you've still got nades. You're hoping you've got smokes, because if it keeps going this way, you might have to just take on the assault here.
What is ironic about this is that not many people were in there at the start. We're completely clear for quite some time. Hetra, ex-FlyQuest member, now an Optic Gaming, batters FaZe and pushes them back, gives them the word of warning. 17 turns up with the vehicles. They've got utility. They can move in. They are inside the circle. They've got a good defilade to play off of. It kind of all depends and falls on what the fights happen between Rogue and Ghost Gaming, because if Rogue are taken out, then Optic, they have a gifted pretty much a nice kind of seat behind them. Shiv's coming down hard. Yuang, he will fall. But now it's the time of Kinguin. They are put to the sword. It's AIM PR, AKM, holographic, GG VAD.
Yeah, it's Vitality and Rogue is the big thing going on down towards the south. Both are playing the game of no one wants to move first, but right now it's Vitality catching Rogue in the heels. Jazz are already going down, and the rest of the team trying to find the angles. You can see Rogue having to find a way to fight back, but there's limited cover on this side. Smacks don't work, but that's just teams trying to work their way in from the north as well. These two are in a standoff. It's who moves first for Rogue. Smokes come out, and now we look onto the other side. Rogue have a good bit of vision here, but they ain't safe. They've got to get moving. So for now, it's trying to find a bit of cover, bit of, I guess, almost just line of sight them. Just try and find a way through. And we are seeing that AWM come through now.
It's a scary sight. You just see it in the kill feed. Drin is onto Godspeed. He's knocked and getting knocked this late into the game. It's not going to be good. He'll find some more faces. Muminu also comes in with another kill. YNCK, he will move in. They'll try and take the push here, but you've got the French just on your back. That's, once again, Drin is another knock there from the AWM. Vitality, they're not in a great spot here, Lauren. Monkey's pushed up early and got himself in the circle, but the rest of his team, he's split off from them. He's also got Tempo Storm on the back foot. If Vitality can wipe out Tempo Storm here, this will be great for them because then they can rotate outside the circle and in towards Monkey.
Yeah, Rogue is still in trouble as well. The front?
Dink.
Okay, you love a bit of that. But yeah, Rogue is still in trouble as well. They're being absolutely peppered with bullets, just like a couple of foot to the right of these guys. So you can see them being wiped out. The play zone doing the job for the players here. GG in a good spot, nice bit of a defilade to kind of put themselves in, play the cover game, it's smart, and the circle's closed in again. More and more central we go. GG in a good spot, Vanguard in a good spot. FaZe gonna have to work their way in, as do Optic, as do TSM, and Vitality just about staying alive. They are still very much in this.
Okay, so you've got about 50 seconds here, well, maybe even 40 of breathing space, because this circle's gonna really hurt you. This is the tanky one. How this one plays out, I have no idea. You'd expect a lot of people just to chill for a little bit. Thankfully for Vitality, they did have Tempo Storm removed from the map, so they've kind of been gifted a position and a bit of safety for now. GG are in a great position. I love this defilade that they've got. This is a really, really nice bit of hard cover.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's probably the strongest position right now because you can see how many teams are in this area. And there's so many angles you have to be worried about. There's so many small pixel peaks that can make it incredibly tricky. FaZe needs to now consider where they go as well. They need to move themselves into the next circle pretty soon. Noble could be a threat to that. Vanguard could be a big threat to that, and Optic as well. If they go on the long way around, that could also get the job done for them. We'll see how this one goes down, as right now LGD doing the damage. Keen's already been swept aside, and we've seen everyone now flooding in towards this, desperate for cover, but GG still landing shots. That's Noble being eradicated. And this is huge. This is the kickoff. This is where the breaking point really comes in. LGD still doing damage. Shiv is now gone, and we're seeing just about everyone having to fold into this area. Vitality holding on by a thread. GG eyeing them up, knowing they're close by. Optic have found a good spot, but otherwise it's this bloodbath going down. There's that AWM really ringing through, and that is a absolutely terrifying sound, even at this range, but there's no rest for the wicked. You jump out, you die, and that's exactly what's happened here. The kill comes in, and FaZe still somehow alive.
Yeah, you're not going to leave them alone. That's 10 points, free kill there. FaZe clean that one up. LGD inside mini mill to power. TSM are now making their way to the circle. They've actually been very lucky. If you look on that west side, no one's really there apart from two members of Vitality. They can take out the #1 team here if they're not careful.
GG just finally lost a player, not actually killed, knocked out, and that's the big thing here. You can get the revives coming in, but I'm wondering if they're now looking a little maybe vulnerable from an angle. But for now, you can see the fight still so close range, still so close quarters, and nades coming through. Everyone trying to get that free kill to come out and hope that maybe picks it up for them, but it's really not to be the case as Fuzzface eyes up everything he can see, but he's terrified of every angle. You don't know where these players are waiting. Obviously, we get to see it all, but with 23 other players alive, you know there's a lot of threats on board.
The biggest battle here is going to be Vitality. Look at them. They're looking dead. No one's gone for the compound. TSM have just been gifted the compound. They can make their way in their little house now. They're going to get a decent little bit of ground here, so they can stay alive and watch this next circle come in and then decide what they're going to do.
A FaZe on the outer wall.
All on the outside of the wall. They're all lined up. The only issue I have with that, if TSM peek that, they're lined up and ready to die.
Yeah, but look at all, like GG will instantly turn, Vitality will turn. It is going to be in towards the power station. This is going to be electric. TSM know they need to move in now. They know they need to run the gauntlet. Do you play it slow? You kind of want to at this point. You hope that others take the heat for you. Then you look at Vitality, they've got two players. They can't take these fights. Noble holding on by a thread. Optic somehow under the radar are still in this. And FaZe clinging to the walls, hoping that they can maybe sneak their way in. But every corner contains a player.
Is that EDAC from Noble? How did he go down earlier on? I know Noble literally just begging that nobody walks their way. LGD here in a grenade. We're on Simba's POV. We'll just kind of watch this one unfold, guys. See how people rotate. I'm keeping my eyes on that minimap. I'll give you the third person. Have a look in the air. Fuzzface gets tagged up. It looks like FaZe, they're starting to worm their way in. Avangard just on the edge as well. They're now going to be inside the circus. They've got themselves a decent little plot of land they can hold their own. Hetra's just eyeballing up. Going to give some information to the rest of his team. They lost one. Hypoc and 17 still on his back. Ready to help out. Ready for the call.
TSM is starting to move in. This is great. They heard the engagements going down from the northern side. That's time to move. They can kind of go in off the heels of FaZe and hope the attention's on them. Now look at Vitality. They're going to follow in the footsteps of GG, but Austin, he's watching that one, as is Define legit if they actually play this right. But Optic, they've got vision as well. This is where the fights go down. Who's got which line of sight? Smack here, iron things up, trying to to find an angle. Is this safe? Is it not? Can we move forward? This now starting to come forward too. This is where you love having that climbing feature coming in. You can actually make it over these walls, but everywhere else is now looking deadly. Vitality finally opened up. You can see the shots coming out. Oh, the response is deadly. You can't get away from it, but it looks like TSM as well struggling to make their way in. There is threats everywhere now.
So many bodies, so many deaths. Proppy, he goes down. This as well, he hits the floor. Over to Monkey. Now it's his time to get inside the circle, but again, we are running a gauntlet here. Define Legit is right behind him on the edge. In fact, he may have just, no, in fact, yeah, he is. He's just around the corner there, so he needs to be very careful. Smack hits the deck and says, nope, not getting involved in this one. I'll just chill for a second, but he's running. And he's going for this, the partner, the duo ship, trying to help each other out. Monkey does catch one on the rotation.
Oh, Austin wants to get that back, though. He wants to avenge his fallen teammate, but Monkey makes it hurt. He gets the kill, and that's excellent work from him. That's more points in the bag. But you know that blue is closing in. It's on his heels, and Austin puts him out of his misery more than anything. And here it is. This is the kind of final moments for these teams. 17 players still alive, and LGD still in a good spot here. Plenty of them standing in Optic as well. Early rotation from them. They're going to get into a fantastic position now on the next circle. Everyone else on the other side, well, you know you're sweating bullets at this point.
Looks like FaZe have just gone down. Breaks on the outer wall, just chilling. Smack and Vis back up, working together. Great job there. I mean, it was a ballsy play from Smack to run the gauntlet. He took a lot of bullets, but he did get his teammate up, so in the long run, it's worth it. Otherwise, it would literally have just been Break on the edge. He's got to worm his way in, though. Oh, here comes the push, though. Vis is ready for it. There's bullets coming from behind as well. So the pincer comes through. And I think that was a team completely. In fact, no, there's one player remaining. But LGD and TSM both together collapsing on one team. Avangard trying to run away. Now it comes down to Onocutive.
But I've got to say again, if anyone moves into the circle early, Optic have set up such a big perimeter already. You can see how spread they are. They've gained so much map control, they're just waiting, begging people to walk on in. On the south, you've got GG with 2 players there. Noble, that's Godspeed still alive, so they're racking up points. But you can see that circle is closing in. Break makes a break for it, and now looks for the next opportunity. Where's it going to come from? Godspeed goes down, the fire comes in, and what? LGD just didn't land that shot. Break somehow sprays down one on the way through, and this is tough. You've got to find an absolutely perfect angle. He just can't land the shot.
Somehow, Break's actually managed to make it in. We've just lost 2 teams as well while going forward. Break does finally go down, though. There's going to be LGD picking up another one, but it's going to be Ghost Gaming. He'll try and run the gauntlet, but the hammer comes down. TJW, death from above here on the balcony, just absolutely slamming Ghost Gaming. And you know what? The blue still on the back, so they're going to keep moving.
This is it. It's down basically between Optic and LGD, but then with the kind of spice of TSM thrown in there. Optic, I still think, have great positions. Unless these guys have nades.
This could be a belter.
I'm terrified where that nade's going to go. It goes a little too deep on that one, but these guys can run across the top as well. If you run on the edge of it, you don't fall inside these sort of, I guess, the piping at the top, so you can definitely make a way through there. But the next circle is going to be huge, and who does it sit on? Who does it go to? We're about to find out in a second.
Look at the health, though, and look at what they've got. They have no health. They don't have any first aids, any bandages on Smack.
Yeah, they've got nothing.
Whether Vis has something is a different story, but he wasn't passing anything, so I'd have to say no.
So who's got the meds? Can we just, if we can, observing team, I know you're busy. Could we just look through the players and see who has HP? Because this becomes the HP game, right? It's saying, because the circle closes in, if it's like normal games, we very rarely see it get to this point. It closes into a position, and you essentially have to just try and survive through it while not dying to others. Now, LGD having this many players alive and still having meds is excellent. Hetra here is actually really well set. Not so great for TSM. They level 1 helmets, I mean...
Come on, Vis, give Smack some health, man. Come on.
17, not too bad at this point. The Optic guys look okay for now. And once that blue moves, it's you know, free-for-all. It's just game on. Who gets the shots done? Who gets, you know, who just goes out? But you still need to be fully stimmed. You want to have everything, because that circle just kills you. It melts you.
So I think LGD, even though they have the numbers, they're going to be the ones in trouble because they have to make it off that balcony. Fair enough, you said they can run the pipe work.
It's not ideal.
No, you've got Optic below you, and you've got
fall in the middle
TSM.
as well. If you fall into the center point of that, you're kind of stuck unless you're prone out and you take damage on the way down.
This could be a nasty pincer.
This could be horrible for them if they don't make it out cleanly, which they shouldn't be able to do. Optic should be able to maybe get 1 or 2, and then it's just, can TSM catch him in the heels? But the circle will start moving soon. If you've never been this far into a game, it does start moving again, and it gets even closer. So you can see what this now means for these teams. Everyone's looking for that small pixel out of place, someone to find, someone to alleviate the pressure. These three teams are holding on for dear life. The final game of the day, of course, it was going to go this far. It wouldn't be IEM if we weren't going to get these sort of moments. And Optic, finding anything. Have they found any info? Not yet. And I'm still waiting to see that blue move, because that's when it just kicks off and everything just gets set ablaze. And it looks like they are starting to consider what to do here, because LGD, they're kind of screwed in a way.
With so many players alive, I'd use one of those as bait. I'd send one of them forward. Fair enough, it's kind of a bit of a suicide pact because you're going to die, but you'll at least have the information of where the other players are.
If I'm honest, I'd rather be in TSM's position than LGD's in a weird way.
Yeah.
Just purely because you can't get off that roof cleanly anymore. You're kind of in an awkward spot. These guys are just waiting for everyone else to kick it. Oh god. No. Vis hide. Vis, you don't need to do this.
He's got an 8. Oh.
You don't need to do this, Vis. He's gonna. He's got the angle actually. Hetra.
No.
You can see everyone's just so tense. All right, it's time to med up. Get everything you can.
See, the thing is though, them seeing each other like that, TSM and Optic, it might have just given LGD the window. Because now they're going to be fixated and focused on one another. LGD might get a free run off this.
Down to about 10 seconds now. These teams know it as well. You know the timer on this one. It is the ultimate standoff. There's almost no cover here. And you can see Hetra there opening up a bit of fire. And here's the flash, and here comes LGD, and here comes the blue. This is the bloodbath. Smack actually finds one, but can they make it out? You've got to go now. And Optic won it all themselves. Excellent play from them. But up above, it could have been everything, but who's alive right now? It's only one. It was Optic standing at the end. Incredible play from them. Just about staying alive.
How did he see him? How did he turn on him like that? He aims up in the air, he knocks the guy cleanly from the pipework. My God. What an absolute clutch kill coming out from Optic Gaming in the end. If he wouldn't have killed him, that one player could have single-handedly rained death from above and nailed both players of Optic. But the clutch up, the turn is real. And fair enough, they've only got 50 points in kills, but that is a second chicken dinner for Optic Gaming. They start day one with a chicken dinner. It's only fair they close it out. What a clutch finish. LGD, they fall into second. TSM, they go third. Some good points from them, some good kills as well. Ghost Gaming in fourth, and Avanga, they are your top 5 teams. But 2 chicken dinners in a day. What an absolute performance from Optic Gaming. A few people questioned, you know, Optic, we haven't really seen much of them. We haven't really heard much from them. How are they going to perform at this competition? When I watched them online, they played absolutely fantastic. And I tell you what, they're doing the same here.
There's not much more to say about that one, but credit, in my mind, goes to these guys. From not making a huge impact in my eyes to where they finished in that game. They took a lot of fights, they were aggressive, they were smart. At the end, of course, it went Optic's way, but I mean, they put up a great performance.
All right, then, that's enough from us. Day 4 is over and done with. But before we seal the deal on day number 1, we're going to throw it back to the desk. James, gentlemen, over to you.
I'll tell you who's definitely sealed the deal on day number 1. Optic, 2 chicken dinners in one day after taking 2 top first places. What a day for them to get things going. I'm joined at the desk once again by Toffees and Avenger. And Avenger, I want to talk about Optic starting things off here in game number 4. It's not like they even had the easiest of games at all. It looked a bit scary for them.
No, not at all. They were pushed by FaZe at Milta Power. They were out by the rocks. They had one car, went all guys into the car, and they actually lost Bahawaka there. But they were able to push themselves over to the road where you have extreme dip there. And they were all alone on the beach side. So they could just wait for the zone and they could go and move into that area, which wasn't like... LGD didn't look east at all.
Right.
They focused so much on the western and the southern side where so much stuff happened. The density of players was on the south and the western side, and north also, actually.
I think a lot of people underestimate that road's cover.
Oh, yeah,
That's such a good ridge, nobody uses it.
Yeah, 17, I think, was over there, actually holding it down. So he was kind of almost their linchpin to be able to eventually transition up there. And Toffees, I want to talk about the position we ended this game in, because it's very, very different to games 1, 2, and 3. Game 4 ending around small Milta Power is crazy compared to the others.
It was like a breath of fresh air. You know, it wasn't an urban ending, but it was a really fun ending. Because when you talk about Little Power, it's got the 3 levels inside, broken walls around. Inside is riddled with crates as well as houses. So everything there is relevant in terms of fight, and you're never exposed on a transition for more than a second or two, which means spray downs are even hard when people are pushing through things. So I think that that's a really fun place to end.
Yeah, and you can see some of the final moments here as well, once again, of the game, because it happens so fast. Everyone outside of the circle trying to get in as it's enclosing to that one point. Optic being able to win out at the end of the day. But a team that we really want to focus on here is LGD, what they were able to do. The very beginning of the game is very, very noticeable for us, because from game to game, they've slowly encroached on FaZe's territory.
Well, and then LGD said they really like Mil to Power. They want to take it, and they're willing to sort of push FaZe out of it. We know FaZe loves it.
Yep.
In the last game, we saw them drop their entire team on Little Power, and FaZe said, okay, we'll take Big Power and move to North to Lepovka.
Right.
This time they did it again, but they spread out a little bit, and they've sort of slowly been just driving this wedge in between FaZe and Power, and it worked out for them.
All right. Well, we can talk about it a little bit more in a moment's time as we're ready for an interview as he goes and heads over to probably Optic Gaming once again. 2 chicken dinners on day number 1.
Ladies and gents, the only guys to perform this freaking miracle right here on LAN, a brand new team and brand new in the world of esports, but not brand new in the world of PUBG. Optic Gaming coming in strong from mid-A, really showing us how it's done. Congratulations once again, 17. That was quite an achievement. Nobody else actually did what you guys did today, and that's surprising. Furthermore, the last time we spoke, just hours ago, when you told me that you guys are brand new to the world of esports, you haven't tried anything else before, but somehow you managed to keep in that kind of cool, that kind of momentum, cool, calm momentum to roll off to that victory and come up again with another chicken dinner. So tell me a little bit about you guys and how you keep your cool in these situations. What about the communication in your squad?
Yeah, so Korea gave us a lot of preparation for just knowing what to expect. You know, we were the only team in Korea that hadn't participated in a LAN. So with all the other teams being in LANs and most of the teams here having performed in a LAN, that gave us the experience that we needed to come in here and be calm and cool. And during those high pressure situations, the communication is you know, just as soon as we get comms and we can plan something, you know, that game was much different than the first game that we won, and where we had the whole time to plan out of that last circle, right? So I think that when we have the time to sit and communicate, there's no one else who can put a plan together like we can and implement it like we did there. So
it went absolutely perfectly. Again, congratulations. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about the communication in your team, because we were talking earlier to Vitality, you know, we were talking about, you know, the way they're all French and they speak the same lingo. For you guys, it's going to be the same thing for English. You're native speakers of that, right? But I'm going to ask you the same question, because I want to know what Annie thinks about this as well. Would you consider someone, let's say, that talks French or whatever, let's say Polish, because we're right here in Katowice, or let's say Russian, would you consider and would you allow him to adapt and come to your to an NA full English-speaking team?
yeah, so even though Hypoc is fluent, like English is his main language, we still do have things that we had to overcome. For example, one thing is they say ground floor, and then first floor is our second floor. So we had like that issue originally when Hypoc came on with learning, you know, what we're like, hey, when we say first floor, it's your ground floor. And so he had to adapt that way. So yeah, I mean, as long as I think there's a little bit of shared language, you know, I had a good opportunity to speak to the Vitality guys, and we hear them speaking French, but they still can speak fluent English. So yeah, I mean, I'll play with anyone who can, you know, get the main comms across and implement strategy the right way. So yeah.
There you go. Now, PUBG is a game of mental fortitude, and we all kind of know this, right? You need to have teammates that are pretty close to you. Not necessarily, you know, close friends, but you definitely need to have people you can rely on, pillars, if you might call them so. Is there any kind of prep before you get into the games? Is there any kind of chill moment that you have after the games that kind of sets you straight back into it? Because you obviously, again, you're the only guys to have 2 chicken dinners the first day here. So I want to kind of know how you get back into the game and get yourself pumped up again.
Yeah, so the lineup that we were able to put together is we play completely free of emotion, which is something that's hard to find, and it's kind of the reason why we made some of the changes we made was because we feel like we're all level-headed, and our first instinct when we die isn't, you know, oh, I knew we shouldn't have done that or anything like that. Our first instinct is, well, what do we do wrong? What can we do next time? You know, and make sure this doesn't happen again. So with a team like that that can communicate effectively, and what's most important to me is everyone respects each other. I've been on a lot of teams that throw shade or digs, and I think that's totally like just the wrong way to approach things. So with a team like this that respects everyone equally, and we're not afraid to say anything to each other, I think it goes miles, and I think it shows in game.
There you go, ladies and gents. PUBG, the strongest game in the world, especially for your mind. Back-to-back, these guys are making it happen today. 4 matches, and 2 of them go to Optic. So congratulations to them once again. We're going to be closing it up today, but not before we hear what our desk has to say. Thank you so much, guys. It's been Boogie right here where the cool boys are. We're going to be seeing you guys tomorrow.
That's right. Of course, Optic taking 2 victories today. It's a big statement to start things off for day number 1. If you think back to Intel Extreme Masters Oakland, the only team I think that did win was DC, but that was 1 win day 1, 1 win day 2, and then AAA, who is now Vitality, only took that 1 victory, but they were able to win it all. So now Optic Gaming is going to have a target on their back. They are looking pretty, probably at the top of the table.
I mean, any of us, anybody who plays PUBG knows how hard it is to win a chicken dinner. In a field with these 16 teams, it's insanely difficult. Optic wins 2. So if I'm Optic, I go home tonight and I completely change my strategy. Sure, today worked, but tomorrow you just get top 5s and you're guaranteed going home with the trophy. So you know what? Drop Kamishki, drop Stalber, change some things up to catch everyone off guard. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a right plan, to be honest with you. Looking at how things went down, though, let's kind of bring it back to Game 4 a little bit. We had LGD in a position where they were so strong, but also, there's teams like Ghost Gaming as well that had pretty strong positions in a geographical sense to be able to kind of hold down. What else kind of stood out to you, Avenger, when it came to some of the final moments in that game?
I mean, Optic, they were in a favorable position, but not in a favorable position that way that they had to run towards about 150 meters towards the small multi-power. Ghost was in a really good position mid-game, but they weren't able to take the right decisions going to that. They played outside the wall and didn't come inside early enough, in my opinion. So they didn't come in and survive. They had Noble was hiding inside, and they just jumped in late, and LGG just focused them. They didn't try to work around the edges, so they had like 2 corners available to them, so they could have gone in anywhere, but they didn't. They waited till the last moment when the zone pushed, and then they moved in.
I think it's worth saying, in my opinion, the people who won that game for Optic was FaZe and Ghost. Because FaZe and Ghost created this incredible triangle, right? With their holding the wall and holding that little hole.
Agreed.
That they killed everybody else, locked them out, and Optic just sort of waltzed through during the gunfight.
Yeah. It gave them such a good opportunity. You're right about that. So before we kind of close things out here for day number 1, you had surprises, maybe kind of highlight moments from the day. Any thoughts, Avenger, starting with you?
I'd say I expected more from FaZe, but again, this is the 16 best current teams in the world right now, so it's a hard transition maybe, and I expected a bit more from them. I put them in my personal top 3 for the whole event.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, but I think they're gonna go home, chug open a beer, and they're gonna look at a lot of VoDs.
All right. Your thoughts?
I was really excited to see the Eastern teams do okay in this tournament so far. I think a lot of people sort of wrote them off, so they're third person. They're not going to be able to cut the muster. LGD stepped up in that last game, got 3 to the very end, tried some very interesting strategic play to go all the way there, ended up with 2nd. And they're a team, like, people write them off, but these guys got 1st place in the Hoya Cup, which is the biggest tournament in China. They got 1st place at the Longzhou multi-invitational. These guys know how to play, and they really brought their game. We're finally starting to see that. I think that the Eastern teams spent maybe game 1 through 3 getting their footing, and those are tough circles, let's be honest.
Right.
So tomorrow, I hope to see a little more centralized circles and see these Eastern teams really sort of get their game in play.
All right, a strong showing from a lot of good teams here moving into day number 1. Let's check in with the schedule to see how things are going to break down tomorrow. Remind you of when our games start and how many we have. Of course, it is a good old 4 games. Once again, we are 50% done with the tournament for now, as Optic's taken 2 victories throughout the day. Avanga taking themselves 1, and Vitality taking 1 as well. We have 4 more games tomorrow, starting same time, same place. And gentlemen, so far what we've had today, I think we've been very excited. We've had a right old time sitting in here, being able to watch all these games, breaking them down. I had a lot of fun, Avengers, so far.
Me too. Coming into this 3 weeks prior to this, I was just so happy. I was looking forward to it, and day number 1 didn't disappoint.
Yeah, definitely. You, Toffees?
I mean, I'm having a great time. I think this is a beautiful city, a beautiful place. The arena's amazing, and the best teams in the world. The stage, you guys saw it. I mean, just seeing that stage the day I walked in, I was like, now this is PUBG. So excited to be here, excited to see some really high-level play, and I can't wait to see what happens when the top 6 teams in the world go home, study the VoDs, and come back with new strategies, new ways to win, and maybe even change the meta a little bit.
That's right. All of the regions here, very equal, although North America doing very well for themselves so far. Optic Gaming is going to be leading the pack as we are 50% complete with the tournament. Tomorrow, the Clash of Continents continues once again. The Clash of Nations will continue once again. A huge thank you for tuning in to day number 1 of the Intel Extreme Masters PUBG Invitational. We'll see you tomorrow.